Take a young family with an Irish background, a great home, and swap it out for the roads of Australia and this Winnebago. Meet Pam, a leading sales executive with an idea.
Kind of just had it as a dream, and we brought this into our lives.
And hubby Kevin, a 3,000 ideas a minute school teacher. And their 4-year-old son Henry and 5-year-old daughter Millie. They want to drop their current lifestyle for an Australian adventure. Join the family on their journey, somewhere out there. In this episode of Somewhere Out There, the kids make some new friends. They look at the history of an iconic Australian institution, the Royal Flying Doctor. Finally, they enter the Northern Territory before delving deeper into Aboriginal culture in Tennant Creek.
We are having a ball. We are going at a lightning pace, and we're about to hit an unsealed section here. One sec, guys, brace. Oh, it's too bad.
I have to keep my eyes on the road or I feel nauseous.
On their way to Cloncurry, the family enjoy a very Australian sing-along to help pass the time.
Advance Australia fair.
I am bred from a man in Brussels. 6'4",
Full of muscles. It's dawning that traveling to Alice Springs and stuff, there's just going to be long roads. It's just sitting here, it's playing in the back with mum, and entertaining yourself in your mind. Now, I don't need anything. I don't need distraction of music or whatever. Or listening to the radio, or I don't need to know what's going on in the world. It's just me and the road, and I'm enjoying that. It's really quite a spiritual thing. This was a quest. This was a journey, and it's absolutely living up to every bit of the journey.
The sunsets are becoming brilliant as the family drive into Cloncurry, a hard-working mining town in far north Queensland's Western Mining District.
We arrived in here late last night. It was probably close to 6, and when Kevin was checking in at the caravan park office, the 3 kids came up to the Winnebago, and they told me they were 7, 6 and 5. My 2 were out of the seat like a shot in their knickers and hanging out of the passenger door chatting to these kids, and it was just lovely. There was just the connection. And I said to them, do you want to go out and meet them? And they were a little bit apprehensive. It's funny, Henry was so confident. He said, Mum, put my clothes on, I can't go out there like my knickers. And their 2 girls are doing a show, and my kids have made tickets already for the show, and they want to bake brownies. They want, when the other kids come back from the local school, my kids want to bring them brownies. And it's just lovely,
Cool.
They've never met these kids before, we'll never ever meet them again, I'm sure, but it's a moment in time. There's a lot of grey nomads around, so it's lovely to that they've actually met some friends along the way,
The kids' show goes very well, though Henry isn't too fond of some of the musical choices.
I don't think he likes Lady Gaga.
The following day, the family visit the Flying Doctors Museum. The Flying Doctors, created by John Flynn, is a service which provides medical treatment to people in some of the most remote locations of Australia.
Guys, this is the Royal Flying Doctor Service Museum. Hello.
Hi Margaret, how are you? I'm Kevin.
Kevin?
Nice to
I'm
meet
Pamela. Hi.
Pamela?
How are you? Thanks for seeing us today. This is Henry and Millie.
you. So you have Royal Flying Doctors Museum here. Did I read something about School of the Air as well, or?
Yes, we have a display of that School of the Air. It's downstairs. The beginnings of the School of the Air were in Queensland, were in Cloncurry.
Fantastic.
It moved to Mount Isa afterwards.
In the 1960s.
Yeah.
And this was the first in the world as well, the whole
Yes.
idea of the Flying Doctor
Yes.
Service. And
Yes,
I mean,
it was.
I'm sure it was taken up later on in other places.
Apparently, well, with the pedal radio, I was just reading that the pedal radio was later used in Canada and in other parts of the world. But I'm not sure about the Flying Doctor Service itself.
Oh, John Flynn is on the $10, the $20.
$20 note, that's right.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Guys, let's see if we can
That's
find them on the
interesting.
$20 note.
No, it doesn't look very much like that person.
Isn't that
That's a
amazing?
woman. There we go. That is the same man that's there.
I love all these sayings. He says here, don't worry, I have sufficient faith in human nature to believe that when you set out to help people, they will in turn help you.
But the answer to the question you had about how people communicated with the doctors in the past before the radio, they used Morse code. Well, there was one story of a stockman that had an accident in Western Australia, and they contacted the doctor in Perth by Morse code. The doctor gave instructions on how to operate by Morse code.
You wouldn't want to get a beat wrong, would you? It's like, might need
The
operating.
stockman survived the operation, but he died from complications before the doctor could get there from Perth. And that was really that attracted national headlines for those days.
So he's sitting on his can of orange biscuits and he's pedaling away.
Yep, pedaling it.
To get, I guess, the current.
And he's
whatever.
wearing a headset, but they did have one of those at the beginning. And there's a Morse key there too that...
Okay, spoke in there and he'd listened to a headset.
That's a book about kids who can't make it to school because they live so far away, and they do their school over the internet with headphones on, like this girl. Isn't that interesting? It's called Outback School. Yeah. We spent a good bit of time there actually, and they really start to understand. Wow, you know, if you one part of the story is about a boy got a snake bite, and you know, God, what would happen? You know, we're up the road from the Royal North Shore, and Manly Hospital is down the road. You know, if something happens, you drive to a hospital, whereas there you can't drive to a hospital, so the hospital is to come to you. And then they were looking at the map, saying, "Wow, if I lived here, then the Royal Flying Doctor would have to come." And a couple of times we were driving, and we'd see just the airstrip
On the road.
on the road. So basically, the air. You know, the
Didn't get that
plane
far.
would land on the road. Thank you so much. It was really great. And the kids had a great time, didn't you guys? Because we actually quite enjoy museums, and unless it's really interesting to the kids, they're pretty bored. So we kind of have a bribery. Say, if you come and do something with us, we can go to the playground. And they just love it, you know. I mean, look at this. It's like a little kingdom for them to play in, and we've been to some really amazing playgrounds all throughout Australia, you know, a place in Brisbane called New Farm Park. They have a really amazing playground there, and so Millie and Henry rate them out of 10. It'll be interesting to see what they think of this one.
First to touch this tree gets a kiss from everyone. Oh, I won! Count over the kisses. Count over the kisses, guys. When I catch you, you can hand over the kisses.
And suddenly, things open up. You get one of these vast open areas. Things become clearer. It's wide open. There's hope.
Still getting closer to travelling through the outback, a little bit of nothingness here and there, but
And the straight road,
but not
just
desert yet.
straight roads.
I haven't got it out of the system. We've got the straight roads, we've got the road trains passing us, but I'm still trying to find that perfect bit where we're flying down and there's just desert on the other side.
So we're getting there, are we?
We're definitely getting there.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome to the Northern Territory. We are very close to the Tanami, is that how you say it? Desert. It's bloody hot here. And we're very excited to be leaving Queensland and reaching the Northern Territory.
We're just 100 kilometres into the Northern Territory, and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we've just stopped at our camp for the night. It's a free camp side to the road, but not too close. We're just across the road from a police station, so I think we're probably all right.
Once again, we leave the family to document the trip on their own as they head into the Northern Territory.
So our first morning in waking up in the Northern Territory. We're hoping to make to Tennant Creek this morning, or by about 1:30. We're 400 kilometres away, and we've just left it just after 8:30. When I arrived in Tennant Creek, we were ready to leave. I said, Pam, I don't necessarily not feel safe here. It's just a question of, it's a lower socio-economic area, and it doesn't make me feel easy. I feel uncomfortable, 2 days ago when we arrived, the supermarket wasn't your typical supermarket experience, the food barn there. It was a little bit depressing. We'd called into the first a tourist park, and the guy would just be so unfriendly. But we said we were going to be a little bit different. We said we were going to go and sort of eke out those experiences, meet the people, not just go into town and do the tourist attractions and leave.
Despite the rocky start, the family give Tennant Creek a chance and head over to the Battery Hill Mining Centre.
Okay, so this is Raymond Williams, and You've been in Tennant Creek from 1971. What have you done in Tennant Creek?
Mainly worked in the mines here. I worked actually underground here in the mines for 27 years.
People started prospecting and mining in Tennant Creek during the last throes of the Australian gold rush during the 1930s. Nowadays, less romantically named minerals such as manganese, bauxite, lead and zinc are mined and exported by the town, though there is still some prospecting for silver.
Okay, how were you mining?
Underground mining.
Underground mining, and so you would have actually gone down yourself.
Yeah.
And what were you mining for?
Gold and copper.
Okay. One of the things why we visited Tennant Creek was because of the intervention. What changes have you seen over the last few years?
Well, when I came into Tennant Creek, Tennant Creek was strictly a mining town. It was only a third the size it is now. Then later on, they built 2 abattoirs here, so half the population would have worked in the abattoirs. And since about 15 years ago, both the abattoirs are closed down. All mining ceased now, so now mainly it's anybody lives in here.
Oh, hello, little froggy. Lots of indigenous people just wandering around. That's what we had sort of expected. Lots of signs warning people that you can't drink alcohol in public places. Okay, from indigenous point of view, how have you seen the changes there to the actual population of indigenous people?
There's been a lot more coming into town now.
So are people moving from sort of a more traditional indigenous way of life to hanging around the town?
Oh yeah.
And with the alcohol restrictions over the last few years, can you just tell me how that's affected the town then? Or?
Well, it affects the town in a way because we've got very restricted hours when you have to buy, say, 2-litre casks of wine. You can only buy them between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock and things like that.
Are you limited to what you can buy alcohol-wise in town?
I can buy a whole truckload if I want it.
Okay, but...
Everything has to be recorded, what I buy, when I bought it, everything.
Okay, so even if you go to a bottle shop, they write down what you bought?
Yeah, and you've got to show your driver's licence.
Have the rules been improving the way of life for people in Tennant Creek?
I think it's definitely a lot quieter after midnight. That's one thing I think.
Okay.
I can tell you.
Well, my name's Colin Gilson. I'm one of the directors at Cloncurry Aboriginal Corporation.
And what sort of size company is this?
Yep. We've got nearly 100 employees. Some are direct employees of the organisation and some come through a government training program called CDEP, but all up we'd have with CDP probably 180 employees.
Where are the issues? What are these issues that are facing the town itself?
The social issues?
The social issues.
Yeah, look, there's a huge alcohol issue here, and we recognise it. It affects the whole town. We have a big issue with absenteeism, and part of my charter at the moment is to look at initiatives and projects that might help reduce some of those issues around absenteeism. But there's no doubt that domestic violence is a huge issue in the town. So, I've only been here for 5 or 6 months, but I've got to say that I feel perfectly safe walking down the street. I've never had an issue. I've never felt threatened. It seems that if there are issues, they're contained to a couple of people. It doesn't spread.
We were in Tennant Creek for 2 days, and we managed to get into a place called the Pink Palace, where it's effectively a women's art centre where local artists come, all women, up to 30 artists, and paint.
So you're just telling me here, it's our first day in Tennant Creek and we're loving it. We've just come to the Pink Gallery, is it?
It's the Cloncurry Art Gallery, but it's better known as the Pink Palace.
And where do the people do their art that's here?
Here.
That's here.
It's only the women's, not men's.
Okay.
He done this bad streaming. Water. In language, ngapa.
Oh, this is fabulous. I really love this here.
It's beautiful. I love the little all the little boxes are lovely. So this is one being made at the moment?
Yeah, one of the other ladies.
It's beautiful.
And do you do art lessons as well for other people?
Yeah.
Would it be possible for my kids to do an art lesson, or?
Could you show these guys how to do some dots? Would you mind?
Well, this art gallery has been an initiative from the CDP project, which is the Community Development and Employment Program that everybody talks about, which pretty much is the main employment for people, but it's only 4 hours a day. So, but our mob come to work, and this is how ladies come out 7 o'clock. They do their 4 hours, so 16 hours a week, and they come and produce paint. So any art that they want to express, mainly it's around dreaming and telling stories.
And one of their problems was they didn't have somewhere to look after their kids. So they've now established through Gina's work a childcare centre on the property. It's pretty rough.
It was run down because it was a few years ago. And
very run down.
In Tennant Creek we only have one childcare that's up to standards in Australia, which is a service for everyone in Tennant Creek. But we've got a population of 4,000.
So there's one childcare centre in a population of 3,000.
And as Kevin was saying, there's things in the playground are just broken. I mean, those kids are starting their
life.
life
They don't have a chance.
with stuff. It's not. There's no beauty there.
You think you can give somebody poor housing, a poor playground, and they're going to get a head start in life, and they're going to catch up with European Australians.
There is some parts that we have to step up to the plate as Indigenous people too, and fix things up in our own backyards. Because if we want to ask government to listen to us and consult us, and as every Australian we have the right to be consulted about anything that is put in your backyard.
Do most of the kids here go to school?
Yeah.
Some of the kids that we see just around town, are they not from the area, or?
Some from this area and some from other places. But I see it in the night, they go and drink and all that, But when I saw one of them, one girl, she's only about 14 or 15 years old, and he was really drunk.
Oh dear.
But lucky all my mob, other three working, and the baby one, my baby son, is still at the hospital working.
And why are some of your kids going overseas?
It's gonna work up there, 5 months as a teacher.
Fabulous experience, wow.
Teach PE and English a bit because I'm part-time studying and doing schooling at the same time.
And tell me why you're going off to Vietnam.
Going for doing a scholarship manager. I'm studying, teaching them Cambodian kids to speak English. I'm showing up at AFL and all kind of other sports.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
I got family all around. They're really good. Most of them go to school here. But the ones from like elderly people and multiple people, you don't see them much come to school. Only the local from here.
We bought a beautiful painting that this woman, she was probably in her maybe late 70s. Her name is Susan Nelson, and she was the most beautiful white hair, very dark skin. And she didn't come to me straight away. She kept looking at me, kept making eye contact because she was painting. So I went up to her and she goes, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Ireland." And she was like, I had a frigging clue where Ireland was, you know. And we just had this lovely connection. And then I said to Kevin, I really feel I'd like to buy it, because we've always said since being married we'd love an Aboriginal artwork to hang in our home, you know. And this, I felt very strongly that this was the place to buy it because of the connection we'd made.
And then as we're going there, we invite them into the Winnebago, and they're loving it, and they're so excited, and they're opening the fridge and going into the bathroom, and they're just, "Oh, we want to buy this from you, and we'd love to go around in this." It was just so warm. And you know, I was talking about I really got a sense of how strong the community was, and yet on the outside it didn't look strong. On the outside there's people hanging around, there's litter, you know, but on the inside, which is I guess what you needed to spend a little bit of time in Tennant Creek to find, is the inside of these, is just to talk to these guys.
So we've hit the desert, the business end, in some ways seen what's iconic about Australia. We've begun to dig into the beauty, sparseness, sometimes loneliness of this working end of Australia. And the family have been on quite a journey themselves when it comes to their own perceptions of the modern Indigenous community. Next week, the family begin to go it alone on their very own walkabout, or dare I say, dreaming, down through the Red Centre. We'll visit some marbles, reportedly deposited by the devil, investigate a town known for its UFO activity, go for a bike ride around the most famous rock in Australia, and go looking for colour in Coober Pedy.